Hello, and welcome to this tutorial by the High Spatial and Temporal Resolution Imaging Core at the University of Nevada, Reno. And in this video, I'm going to take you through how to take a Z-stack image on the Leica Stellaris 5. So the first thing we need to do is turn on the system, and it's really easy. There's only 4 things to turn on, and they're labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4, obviously. And the first thing is the computer. So I'm just going to turn on the computer now. And I usually just wait until that boots up into Windows before I do anything else. And so that's going to take a minute, so we might just jump ahead. And as you can see, we're booted up into Windows in the corner there. Now I'll turn on 2 and 3, and that's the switches on the side of the black box in the corner. And I just turn on 2 and then wait a second and then turn on 3. And that's turning on the microscope and then the lasers. And then the fourth thing is this small box at the top and the switches on the side. And I just turn that on and then wait a few minutes till everything starts up, and that's everything ready to go. Okay, so now if we go back over to the computer, the software that we want is the LasX software. Icon's right in the center here. And this box is going to pop up. And you want to just check that the top one is set for machine and that the bottom one is set for DMI8. And then just click OK. And then it'll take a minute to start up. So in the meantime, I'll just put my slide on the stage. So here we go, you just tilt back the transmitted light arm carefully. Then I just go to this panel on the touch screen and check that my objective is fully lowered before adding the slide. So first thing, you just need to slide these arms together to the size of your slide or your dish or whatever you're using, and then just pop your sample in there and just close everything up so make sure it's nice and held nice and tightly. And then you can lower the transmitted light arm again. Now I usually go back to the touch screen and I'll click on the icon for the objective and pick whichever objective I want. So we have 5, 10, 20, then 40 and 60. And you can see that 40 and 60 both oil objectives. And you can tell that because it's got the little drop of oil beside both of those numbers. So now what I do is go over to the color wheel tab, and on this screen you can see all the different light options that we have. So on the left we have the transmitted light types. So we have bright field, DIC, and polarized light. In the middle we have our different fluorescent lights, and then on the right we have the different combinations. And so if we click on the middle on the fluorescent light, then we'll see the options for the different filter cubes for the different types of light that we have. So we have one for DAPI, blue fluorescence, one for green fluorescence, and then the rhodamine one for red fluorescence. And so you just choose whichever of those you want, and then you click to open the shutter. And so once you've opened your shutter, that should turn on the light to come through to the sample, as you can see here. And then once you've done that, you can start moving the stage around to make sure your sample's directly in the light path. And to move the stage around, we use this controller on the left that you can see here. And there's 3 parts to it really. There's a top part that moves it left to right. There's a bottom part that moves it away and then towards you. And then at the bottom, there's actually 2 little knobs in this bottom ring. And what that's for is for changing the stage movement from a coarse to a fine movement. So you turn the knobs, hold them for a second, let them go, and that should switch from coarse to fine. Then the other controller on the left, The front parts don't do anything actually, but the back part can be used to uh, change the Z movement to focus up and down, and the two buttons on the right are actually for changing the objective. But I usually don't really use this controller, and I just use the focus knobs on the side of the microscope and change the objective. Okay, so now we can go back over to the software and set up the parameters for our image. And the first thing you want to do is pick your fluorophores. And as you can see up here, there's a ton of different fluorophores uh, built into the system. So you can just click on any of them and it'll give you the parameters. And uh, there's so many that an easy way to narrow it down is just to type in this search box. So I'm just going to search for Alexa, get all the Alexa dies. You can see here, and then you can just pick whichever one you want, and then you're going to drag it down onto the graph, and you can actually drag it onto any of these detectors. These are the 4 detectors, and you can pick one, but it's easier just to drop it straight onto the graph and then well, then it's going to bring up this message telling you which laser to turn on. Just click OK, and it turns it on. And then the software automatically picks the detector that it needs, and so you don't have to decide on anything like that on your own. Then if you want another one, just click on the plus button, brings up another graph, and go find your next fluorophore, drag it down onto that second graph, click OK to turn on the appropriate laser. Then the software puts it on a different detector, and you can add another setting. Pick your next fluorophore. So pick this one, the 647, drag it down onto that graph, tells you again what you need to turn on, click OK, and there you go. So now you've got your channel image, so you can do up to 4. And then after that, what I usually do is I just go up to the top left here, and I usually change the format to, something like 512 by 512, and the speed to something like 700. And that's just so that the image isn't refreshing really slowly when I'm trying to set up all of my parameters. So once you do that, then you click live, and then you're going to see your live image. These are the beads that were on my sample slide. And you can also use this fast live button, which automatically speeds up all of the settings, the format and everything. But the problem is it only shows you one channel when you do that. So I prefer just to stop that and just use the normal live and set the format and the speed myself so that it doesn't refresh too slowly. So if I go back here, you can see 3 channels. You can see all of the channels together at that kind of faster refresh speed. And sometimes there's a issue where the color isn't quite right. So here you can see it's blue when it's actually Alexa 488, or it's green when it should be a yellow color. So if you want to change that color permanently, you go for here and you click on the detector and you go over to this little color wheel. Then it drops down a menu of all the different colors. You double click on the one that you want, and that will change the color, and it'll be permanent because you'll see the little lock icon there. So now we've got the green and the orange, and the red was fine as it is. Now we hit live, you'll see that the colors have changed, and they won't change back to the other color. Okay, and so now I go to this control panel bar that's in front of the monitor, and it has all of the controls for the microscope on it. So here on the right, we've got the Z position. You just spin it to move up and down. Then we move over here, we have the intensity and the gain. And basically the intensity is essentially like the laser power. So you can turn up the laser power. And I don't usually like to go much more than like 15%. And then we also have the gain here, and you can increase the gain if your image still isn't bright enough. And I just work with both of those to get the image just how I want it. There's some other settings too. There's the pinhole here, but normally you just keep the pinhole at 1. Otherwise, it won't be a confocal image. And then here you have the zoom, and so you can use that to zoom in a little bit if you want. But I don't use it that often. Okay, and so if we now go back over to the software, what I usually do is use that Z focus control knob to focus up and down through my sample. And basically what I'm looking for is pretty much the center of the sample, or if it's a particularly bright area, I'll concentrate on the brightest region. But in this case, because it's a hollow bead, I'll go right for the center, and then when I get that position, then I can start adjusting the colors. So what you need to do is go over to the panel you want to adjust and then click on it, and then you can go back to that panel control box and start using the uh, smart intensity and the smart gain. And you can see I'm turning it down because it looked just a bit too bright. There you go. So now it's a little bit sharper and more defined. Now I go over to the second panel, click on that, and I'm going to start adjusting it and turn down the intensity and brightness a little bit. And usually I just do this by eye, by looking at it, to see, how bright it is and if it's suitable. But you can also go to this button, over under saturation, click on that. And so in this case, you'll see that there are some blue areas, and the blue areas are the bits that are still overexposed. The green is underexposed, that's the background, and the areas that are correctly exposed will be like white, yellow, orange colors. So I'll just decrease those first two a little bit. And then the third one, we'll just go back. You have to, the first time you click it, it goes to grayscale. You have to click it a second time to go to color. And yeah, now I'm just adjusting the third one down as well, so now they all should be pretty good. And it's just handy to have that over and under exposure button to double check that you're not too bright. So now what I'm going to do is just stop that and then set up my Z stack settings over here. So let's just turn on live again. And what you need to do is basically focus all the way up or down, or basically up until you don't see your sample anymore, pretty much. So that's looking pretty good there. Then you click begin. So that's setting your kind of start point. Then you just focus the other direction. We'll go all the way back to the other side of these beads. To the center. And keep going all the way to the bottom. And once you get to the bottom, then all you have to do is click here the end button. There we go. And now you can see here you've got your different values, your actual Z position, the value of your beginning and end. Here's the total stack distance. And the stack is actually here between these 2 points, but it's so close together you can't see anything. So if you move this zoom slider, it expands it out, and now you can see all of your different, you can see the whole uh, thickness of the Z stack, and you can move this slider up and down to any point and quickly kind of jump to that point in your stack. And you can also hit this icon, move to center, and it'll jump straight to the center. So you can check again, everything's okay. And down here, you have the different options for how many Z slices to do. So normally I just leave it on the system optimized, but you can also just put in a certain number of steps or a certain Z step size. I'm just going to put in a particular number of steps because so it doesn't take too long in this example. But normally I would use it leave it in system optimized. So now I'm just going to go back up here to format. I'm going to change it to the format I want for the image. So 1024 by 1024. I'm going to slow it down a bit as well. And just to point out, there's some other options here. There's like frame averaging and line averaging, and also frame accumulation and line accumulation. So uh, the software will keep taking the same line and then averaging it, or it will keep taking the same line and accumulating it. And that can be kind of useful uh, if your image is very dim to accumulate the fluorescence from multiple line readings. Um, so yeah, that's something you can do if you have a very dim image. But now, yeah, just gonna click live again just to get an example, just to see if everything looks okay. Sometimes it'll look a bit brighter when you've slowed everything down, but the minute everything looks pretty good, I'm just going to speed it up a tiny bit because it was so slow, but you can set it to whatever you want. It's totally up to you. Uh, so you can either click capture image to capture a single slice, or if you want to capture that whole Z stack, then you just hit the Z stack button, not the Z stack button, the start button, and that should start taking your whole Z stack. And so it's going to go through and take the number of slices that we've set. And down here at the bottom, there's a slider showing you the amount of time remaining in the progress. So with all of these settings, you can set it to basically whatever you want. It just depends how long you have. Yeah, there you go. That's the uh, time remaining. But yeah, you can set it to whatever length of time that you want. Just depends, uh, how long you have. You can take an image that takes 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or whatever. Um, that's up to you, or you can speed it up if you need to take images more quickly than that. Okay, so there, that's the image finished, looks like. And if you go over here on the right, you can use this slider to go up and down through your Z-stack, see all of your uh, different images. And I should have pointed this out before, but you can turn off different channels, have different combinations of channels, and you can overlap them, and then still turn off, one or two channels or whatever. So that can be good for setting up your image uh, as well as for looking at it afterwards. And if you want to see your projection, you click on that, the max button. It'll show you all of the slices projected together. And it doesn't look very good here because it's a hollow bead, but uh, that's how you do see the projection. And just to show you another useful function over here on the left, there's a LasX Navigator button. And if you click on that, it brings up this new window. And if you hit the spiral button, what it's going to do is start taking images and spiral out from the position that you're in. Um, and you can just zoom out using the scroll wheel on your mouse. You can also just click and grab and drag the image to center it. And you can turn off the different colors, see different channels at the time, but it'll just keep going around and around in a spiral. And this is good for, if you're searching for a particular cell, you're just looking for a good cell. Um, you can just do that, and you can hit stop at any time. Shows you where we currently are, and you can just pick your new region wherever you want, and just double click there, and now we've basically jumped to that position. So if we click close, go back over to the main window and we click live, you'll see that we are in exactly in that new position. So it's a very quick way of getting around, especially if you have cells kind of sparsely on your slide. It's just kind of easier sometimes than searching around, under the microscope. Now, if I actually go back to the Navigator window, this is where you can do a large stitched image. So you have these options down at the bottom. You can draw like a square or a circle or different shapes, but you can also click on this polygon and then draw a freehand line around whatever it is, whatever section of your sample that you want to stitch together. And you let go, double click, and it automatically fills in all of the squares it's going to take, and it shows you the overlap and everything. And you can actually grab, any of these points and pull them, if you want to get something specific into your sample that you kind of missed with the line. But and then over here on the left, you still have all of those controls. So you can still see your fluorophores. You can still see your setup for format and everything. You can still see your Z-step settings, Z-stack settings, and you can apply that to every panel in your stitched image, or you can have separate ones. And over here on stage, it shows you the amount of, or yeah, it shows you the amount of overlap. And this final one, you can set it to different multi-well plates and stuff like that as the pre-programmed settings. And then to start, you would just click the start button down at the bottom. So now if we go back over to the main window, I can show you how to save the images that you've taken. So once you take an image, it actually appears over in the Open Projects tab here. And you can see we have the series at the top and the preview. So this series is the Z stack that we took. You can see all the sizes there. The previews came from when we did the spiral and we clicked on a new region, but we don't need that, so we can just delete it. So just click delete, click OK, and then for the images that we do want to keep, you have the project, and that'll have all of the files, all of the images you've taken that day, and you can, of course, rename that to whatever you want. So I'm just going to call it test. So, and you can also rename each series, each image individually. So in this case, I'll just go rename, and these are focal check beads. So I'm just gonna call it that. Go, and then you just click anywhere on here to fix it. Yeah, sometimes I put in the objectives and whatever I used. And then once you've done that, you have to go to Save Project. So just right click and Save Project. And then it's going to come up here and you have to pick the right file. So it should be on the E drive always. And then you want to go to the file that says user data goes here. And then you can set up your own file. And so I've got my file here. Just pick that and test is fine. And it's actually going to save it as a Leica file, which you can open in Fiji or ImageJ, and there's that kind of analysis software. And yeah, that's just it. Once you've got all your images taken and saved, you can just clean up. So I'll tilt back the transmitted light arm. I'll drop the objective all the way to the bottom. And then I'll just carefully take off the slide. And then you see this, the oil in the lens. So I'll get some lens paper and I'll just hold it across the objective and just kind of dab it on there, rub it a little bit, and just keep moving it around to a fresh area of paper. And just keep doing that until I'm basically not seeing any oil coming off anymore. So yeah, just keep going, and that looks pretty clean in about now. So once I've done that, I'll get another fresh piece of lens paper and put some either lens cleaner or 70% ethanol on it. You don't want too much, you don't want to be soaking dripping wet, but just enough that it's pretty wet. And then just rub that across the objective a few times to really get it clean. And then once I've done that, I'll just go to a dry piece of the paper and just dry it off, and that should be good enough. It should be totally clean, and then you can just drop the transmitted light arm, and you're pretty much done. Um, After that, I just, first of all, I turn off the software. So I shut down the LasX software, and that can take, a few minutes, goes through all of its checks, and then finally shuts down. And then once that's done, all you need to do is basically turn everything off in the reverse order. So I'll go up here and I'll turn off number 4 on the side of this box. So I'll switch that off. Then 2 and 3 on the side of this box here in the middle. And once those two are turned off, then finally go back to the computer and completely shut down the computer. And that'll take a few minutes to shut down. Okay, and so the last thing you want to do is just to pop the dust cover back on, and once the microscope's totally covered, then you're finished. That's it. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching this tutorial on how to take a Z-stack image on the Leica SP5. And if you go to our website, you can check out all of the other videos uh, and protocols and stuff that we have for all of the systems that we have here in the core facility. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching.